Garfield, my nose may be broke, but I still got ears. Whatever trick you're pullin', goddamn bugs re-chirpin' wherever I go. But this ends here, yeah? Otto, I wonder. Just because you caught up, doesn't mean you've won. Garfield, don't be a smartass. Why put up a good fight? But I ain't gonna waste my time no more. Garfield set his foot on Otto's stomach and leaned in. Ribs creaked as the foot pressed down with a force greater than the weight of Garfield's scrawny figure, prompting wails of pain as Otto's limbs convulsed helplessly. Garfield, if I step on you with all I've got, you'll be squashed to smithereens. Why saw me launch ground into air back there, yeah. Same shit's gonna happen to your body. Wanna try? Otto, sorry, but I'd rather not. Seeing Otto answer his threat with a defiant smile, Garfield was slightly taken aback, but... Garfield, hell, why got some guts, don't ya? If I knew that before I pulled this shit, we would not have needed this goddamn runaround. Otto. Garfield's words could almost be called a compliment. Hearing this, Otto rolled his head and spilled a small sigh. Watching Otto faintly breathing, Garfield narrowed his eyes. Garfield, if there weren't so goddamn many of them, I probably would not have thought anything of it. Otto. Garfield, but soon as I was chasing ya, it's like whole forests turned against me. Even at the start when I threw those leaves, the bugs under 'em all flew at me. Bugs in dragon carriage, those squirrels throwin' shit at me, centipedes, snakes swarmin' out of dead trees, birds lurin' me to a field of poison flowers, there's gotta be some way to explain it. One by one, Garfield recounted the traps he had encountered in the forest. While listening, Otto only continued faintly breathing. Those were all traps Otto had set during his treks through the forest, designed to hinder Garfield and to stall for time. None of them missed their mark, and they all succeeded in drawing Garfield here. If it weren't for the fact that there were too many of those natural anomalies for it to be mere coincidence, Garfield would never have believed that Otto was behind it. Garfield, thinkin' ain't my strong suit, but to survive, I gotta think anyway. So I thought. And thought, and here's what I got. When inexplicable things happen in this world, it's usually 'cause some divine protection's involved. Why got one of those divine protections, don't ya? Otto, UF. Garfield, divine protection of forest, divine protection of dirt, or whatever fuck why call it, if why got one then this all makes sense. And why really weren't holding back, were ya, so? Striking the silent Otto with these words, Garfield gave his trembling body a kick, then glanced behind him. His sharp eyes narrowed in pity. Garfield, don't think I haven't noticed what you're plannin' behind those stubborn eyes of yours. Otto. Garfield's eyes landed on an open clearing where a mass of white light had gathered. It wasn't sunlight that had filtered through the trees, but a radiant mass of mana so dense that it was visible to the naked eye. Gazing at the swelling mass that could drive a person mad should they wander too close, Garfield scowled and looked back down at Otto. Garfield, that's your trump card, ain't it? It ain't like empty threats you've been throwing around so far. That's something that can do me in. If you're one who's got me on ground, why might even be able to shove me into it? Otto, ugh. Squatting down, Garfield picked up the groaning Otto by the collar. Blood from Otto's overworked brain poured from his nostrils, staining the bottom half of his face grisly red. Seeing this, Garfield shook his head. Garfield, why tried, but you're way out of your league. Shoulda known your place like a good boy. Otto, my place, you say? Garfield, yeah. Why ain't he got no chance against me? Whatever that trap's supposed to be, you're one who's gonna be eatin' it. With that, Garfield gave Otto's body a gentle toss. Following a brief weightless sensation of falling through the air, Otto's body crashed to the ground and rolled into the pool of dense, white mana. Inside the thick, drifting cloud, the mana began to infect Otto's already vague consciousness. His eyes rolled, his tongue numbed, and his nosebleed streamed without end. The trap. The final trap. Now that he was tossed inside. Garfield, I'll watch till it's over. Crossing his arms, Garfield waited to see Otto's end. Where am I? What am I doing here? Lying on his stomach, catching Garfield in the corner of his vision, Otto gathered his scattered thoughts. And then, he understood. The final trap was ready. Otto, mind if I ask you something? Garfield, ha! Pressing his hands to the ground, Otto desperately pushed himself up. Not expecting him to still be able to move, Garfield's eyes widened in shock. It gave Otto some small satisfaction to see this, and indeed, Subaru was right. Doing something no one believed you could really is fun. That is a fact. It may be a little mean, but it still felt amazing. Otto, on your way here, Garfield-san. How many trees have you felled, and how much earth have you gouged open? Garfield, fuckery why talking about? Otto, all this mana floating around me is just how much you've angered the forest. The sense of accomplishment made him forget all about his fatigue and pain. Sitting himself up on the ground, Otto's faltering voice grew firm as he looked up at Garfield. Garfield uncrossed his arms, his face twitching as realized he had done exactly what Otto wanted him to, and immediately tried to move, but it was too late. Otto, Dona. A bounding mana coursed through Otto's entire body, taking shape in the world at the sound of his chant. With overwhelming speed and momentum, a torrent of earth poured forth, slamming into Garfield's body, as he belatedly tried to dodge, sending him flying to the other edge of the forest. Otto, ha! 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 Hey! His outstretched arms still trembling, Otto's labored breaths were thick with exhaustion and blood. All the mana drifting around him had been siphoned into his spell. The sensation of mana intoxication had faded, replaced by fatigue and all-encompassing agony. Otto's final trap was the essence of all the traps that came before it. To enlist the help of the bugs and animals of the forest, Otto proposed that they punish the evil presence tyrannizing these woods. It seems the wanton devastation left by Garfield's daily strolls had raised the ire of the forest's inhabitants. Cutting down trees to sharpen his claws and train his body, or even just going around collecting firewood for the village, were probably seen as sabotage from the perspective of the animals living there. Little by little, these heinous deeds piled up until Garfield was eventually considered the archenemy by the majority of the creatures in this forest. So Otto negotiated with those creatures, offering to punish Garfield with their help. As trap after trap was sprung and Garfield inflicted more and more damage upon the forest's residents pooled their mana into one location, lending Otto their utmost support as promised. The giant mass of mana was so conspicuous that it could only be a trap. After triggering so many traps on his way there, Garfield instinctively avoided this one and tossed Otto into it instead. With the aid of the forest's creatures, Otto was able to cast magic he'd otherwise have no way of casting. The resulting torrent of earth and debris slammed into Garfield, dealing decisive damage to his thus far unscathed body. Garfield believed that Otto had no strength to oppose him, got careless, and facilitated his own downfall. Everything had gone as Otto planned. Which means, Otto, this time, you're out of moves. Otto spilled a despondent sigh as Garfield's figure emerged from the tree lean, glaring back at him. His clothes were torn, and his exposed skin was marked by cuts made by jagged rocks. But his head and other vital places were unharmed, and there was no obvious impact on his gait. The sheer disparity in strength far transcended Otto's imaginings. Garfield, honesty, I'm damn surprised. Otto, are you now? Garfield, I really didn't think you had it in ya. Hell, I looked down on ya, thinking you've given up. Forgive me. I pulled some stupid shit when I'm actually dealin' with a man. Garfield said with a meek expression. But Otto shook his head, indicating that there was no need to apologize. All he wanted to hear was "I concede." But despite giving it his all and fulfilling his role perfectly, he still failed to defeat Garfield. And so, this is where Otto's resistance ends. Garfield felt his hands, then flashed his razor claws. He would not show Otto mercy this time. Their sharp edges shall reflect his sincerity. They would strike true, carve into Otto's flesh, and extinguish his life. "I did everything I could, right?" Otto was sure he had played every card he had. His divine protection, his debts of friendship, he had used all of it. If he still fell short in the end, there was nothing he could do. Otto's capabilities ended here. And so, Garfield, see ya. When I wake up, you'll start all over. Otto, this is where my individual round ends, I guess. Garfield. Muttering under his breath, Otto closed his eyes, exhausted. Yet his attitude was nothing like resignation towards death. Garfield, no way. Is there more? Garfield shuddered with all the hair on his body standing on end as he warily scanned his surroundings. There was no sign of anything in any direction. If there was something, it'd have to be Garfield, HK. Baring his fangs, Garfield swiped his claws upwards. Drawing in a breath, he expanded his lung so he may howl. But there, he hesitated. His eyes widened, yet no roar escaped his open lips. What escaped was not bloodlust, not hostility, but a name. Garf. A shadow leapt from the treetop overhead, falling towards him. Its short skirt fluttering in the air, the point of its wand aimed straight for Garfield's head. Watching the shining mana gathering at the tip of the wand, Garfield expelled his shriek. Garfield, YTH fuckery Y. Ray-a-o-we-a-m-m-m-m-m. The next instant, blades of wind burst forth, scattering the sanctuary's forest to the gales.